and one Syrian. Well, they are already in the United States terrorist list in other Gambia. So Ismail Hayek, managing director of BMX, ngamera wole long fala bading or long fala munemba. So we clearance apply to the director of immigration.
Immigration.
What time Buba Sanyang Lebije as director
Buba
of
Aisanya.
immigration, Buba Sanyang.
Mm-hmm.
So Buba Sanyang ye clearance issue. I clearance issue, wolungo mimfango I clearance issue ye Buba Sanyang by ya arrest. So what interesting was from State House, La Preso, wole o bisa ye Buba Sanyang by ni mofulol ye arrest ye samanan court. Ye samanan court ye Buba Sanyang fanan samanan court ya charge ye ni mofulol libaniso ning Syriano ning ye samanan court ye charge. Ngal libaniso ning Syriano friendly. Buba
Mm-hmm.
Sanyang, Buba Sanyang account on 2 charges later. So now he was guilty on 1 count as the managing director of immigration. At least I responsibility totally. 2 charges.
Mm-hmm.
Them 1 count he's free. The other charging he's found guilty. So ala Finko Joe ala guilty pleading. I charge him maybe for $50,000 Islam bank. Abawale Jola or 2 years in prison. He was found guilty on abuse of office. Then neglect of duty, he was free
Mm-hmm.
on neglect of duty, but abuse of office because now as a managing director of immigration, Ajanta make sure that before the clearance issue la wol bulunung at that time I ala due diligence ke. But ngamira amawol beke is like cool tariatele fat cool bring at a application of the time apply clearance di ñulla aman due diligence ke kalong ñul mu mo si faleti abe clearance di kam milla pour ye dum Gambia banko kan and all that. So
Mm.
nta free nola. I try to be as fair as possible. Nta
Okay.
free nola on all charges. Now I say Wonyama he's not guilty. So he was found guilty on 1 count, the other count is free. So I ala
Mm.
bail Wolungo I ala guilty plea ninjo Kodo Jorek I think he left Gambia immediately on that day.
Wow.
Ate Buwasana.
Mm-hmm. So, very interesting cases, to be honest. I think this is very eye-opening. Abe mul nyafal ni kan kujamal tolo bankola tiling bunda kata manya. Mila faki ngamena. This is a personal question. I just wanted to understand whether fakere personally or whether you have a sense of it across the bench, make a bench wala mukiri teralti ila karola gambe banko kam. Come knowing that Yahya Jammeh nyabe loring judiciary nyinkane. Does that in any way have a way of influencing your cases, even if they are not political? Because ngajelo fananko come Jammeh akatu comment lele on issues many alon ke bikikan ala from manti comment at the formula on politically sensitive cases are interested in the menudo ngajelo for example handling crime si araba floko mbal be nyunu be falale wara karla yenye rape janga nyinge. Is there a way knowing that ya jembe nyabe lorin tiliwo bunda kan fo we nyabe jele me alon ko aka magistrate ol ninkiti telal dundi ka kuke me alon ko tumando bato ni be fambulu nungi tol dol kela bari ba keka maybe for some meeting some expectation or whatever. Has it ever happened to you, or do you have a sense of it across the bench from Ilapoli?
Wasiatale, ya jamela watola wo sifa siatale. Because I control sort of over all aspects of the government, especially my judiciary. I
Mm-hmm.
control sort of. He wants control. I will control the fang already because I can mold me head. Wolman ha nyala coming up when they are on contract. Chief Justice will katara on contract. The contract was at a minute no anytime. So Chief
Mm-hmm.
Justice for la dindingol control. You make so ko you can mold me arrest in high profile cases on me along at a personal I interest sort of jail because now I can call le wala ala staff ka will call le ka ke
Mm-hmm.
update coming to update what is going on with certain cases will be taken nyami pour will ka te inform. So what if as a magistrate wala for even as a high court judge for ye ihakilo bula ko president oba ijibe kande or president oba lamoy kande. A lot of the coup d'etat cases all milikanana. Ni mol arrest iko wochitiol mil beke tenge ke found guilty. Well man guilty. body ka ke pour ka president wala satisfy lang tombong
Wow.
ñol ni all those coup d'état kamil be arrest coup d'état la tenga be mu wolete high court judges all mil bije will be mu Nigerian already wala ke neka cases all di Nigerian all so whether he guilty tale foi man guilty bang foi itulia mix so ye samba prison you know so wasifa siatale influence siatale no wata mo mol buka hanyi fanan mil buka hanyi de wol kake wole nyama de ning mol
Mm-hmm.
nata ye samba mile 2 ye te fango bondije because ye min ke pour que samba mile 2 amanke ko is wrong ila discretion lam ye send mile 2 ye ta mile 2 ye la woto fu janim chitio yimbe ban
That's crazy. So
yeah
lafa ke nyini nga mena senior counsel ya explain le fanan ko mo jamale la kitiol nata kitiol men yalon ko fonga yalon ko de president o de nyin kitiol ya ko sulale
mhm
jamal wol ko no ko ya fa nyame yebula bella fat kamara nyolo
mhm
njogu ba nyolo mambure nyolo
mhm
it fonga kondingo was there a point for why sort of the me yalon ko it fonga silata ifango la kola ani maybe to
mhm
mando ba ko are there any specific instances where if I kid you te wara ye simfada for la bon la fonga silata ifango la
exactly.
kola.
Yeah, what be jail always at the back of your mind, yalo know anything can happen because molke won le. Ndata
Mhm.
chief justice la office nya fula fo sinya saba. Wo be warning lem ko nkana cases sol samba nyame. It may end up bad for me. Lugo mina fango
Mm.
niaje bota niaje bota Gambia. Ilaftang arrest lale. Nga nying buba sanyan na judgment okay on a Monday. On Tuesday, nga nyula no case submission nga wole ke on Abdullah Tambedu and in Hali Gay. Hali Gay was the finance director at the Gambia Ports Authority at that time. Abdullah
Mm.
Tambedu was the managing director at the ports at the Abdullah Tambedu now Gambia Atilebe Minto. He was at Social Security, then yeah, somebody GPPA in Malus right now, I'm a director team in Tole, but he's still in the system by the time.
Mhm.
So Haligay is a private contractor now. He was the finance director ports. So it will case not case deliver lungumina, wolungole fango, wularo, mbota Gambia.
Wow.
Wularo. Because police will find I have a very good relationship with them. Police prosecutor up to the IG because I work to the IG's office, Jamab, in certain issues, now I discuss. What time so IGP yellow nala boys all yellow nefana police all timo mi nyanta nala pukante arrest boy one of them is somebody who knows me he very he likes me naturally I ain't call
Mhm.
ha mbota suko kono yala bruce bi ton table na incident kete nyamen fango ton table there musol katara jeteng ika nyewol wa fi nye koyo ton table
Yes.
Johnson
Mhm.
auto jeteng ha so nte bota suko kono ngalun tawol soto from Senegal nga mbota suko non ko mbaɗa ngata ñewo sang nga nana kata ñe koyo sang galie nsafo yari galie da fo jonki lesa so nde bita
Mhm.
ñewo sang nanda nga nana wo ñe sango birim tata fo ton table ñi en call police officer en call ko I kana kamal ako yogo is
Mhm.
a team is leaving the I kana kamal de so from ton table mbota wole to ton table fang fang ngana moto drive tata fo na broda do ya biri wadaman tata wole ya birom de an tata jiboro that night nga suto ngalla jiboro le suto
Border do frontier do.
boda ha jiboro boda to ha ngalla wol to ngalla na friend dola bu kona baso fene ngalla je wo suba around 4 a.m. suto ntamata wulo kono because now friend nying wo bota jiboro je famole a tata a na tata wulo kono katama bo forest o kono nyamo kono up to nga border cross nga checkpoint o nying divert border station o nying nga je divert ndunta Casamance kono fo nyato tata malon sati jumala I cannot remember sati o nying dama tola nga moto tawol to tata zigen so on that night nga dili nga nyulla judgment o deliver lungo mina haligay aning Abdoulaye Tambadou because no case submission lamin camera mu la lawyer ko nyulman
Mm.
defense for is no need for a defense for dundi because the case is so frivolous case nying is a foolish case ye charge me na manke to nyati so nga case nying no case submission o nga accept nge discharge iseta was lungo on tenga no kay mom ate laban no kuke on that night so one night for only infinita wonyam bari nga mistake nga mistake min ke birin tata fo zigenzor Mbejigen so ntata hotel oto ngalla oto. I spent the night. Yeah, I spent the night in the hotel. Musumanda, there was supposed to be a flight from Zigenzo to Dakar. So, but in na passport temple. Because ya lambuta so kono ntata Brusubi from Brusubi. So nana broda call. Pura na passport o samanyina. Pulunse Dakar flight to from Zigenzo to Dakar on that day. But manna we late takanana amanana. What that day amanana. Yemune ke biring na broda binaka ya fang bentela telefono monite kon na broda ndoko ma the same mode and fara we do ko la airport le civil aviation yo fanan track le ya muta so that day he was in custody. Wow. Iko aya fo yente bi min tole police ya muta ko aya fo yente bi min tole that day so wala dileta wala nyama woman tela passport o samanyina so ngamune ke ngamoto ta from Ziguinchor to kata Dakar. But the mistake I made was intended malonko ni bota Ziguinchor moto bita kan Dakar. Ika dun
Gambia la kono la ha.
Nte mawolo. Nene mawolo fang.
So what happened?
Nte moto na rafa jara so mo kal ali ji ali ID card tandi. Oh my God, I was so afraid. Silata fo. But the driver ko funga ID card otande driver dun tema fo moy mo malong inte mo mare mo malong mo so jita data gana ID card be mulle abena kalpe kono nga ID card tandila because ID card at the back of the ID card magistrate BJ they know you are magistrate but at least will man ke moti mi along they have maybe you can use follow or if they are currently also no will man ke will so yena ID card gibere as a Gambian they can glance like akanyalta nti tata Senegalese bije mi alam ko ke ni kala se passer ni wol kam wala time waste mbota jara soma ntata jana farafeni fanam di same thing fo ika cross dame yedun Senegal sati woni tondi fo yidi tendara fo nyadi ntata je fanam
is it for Ker Ayub Lamba Malo
Ker Ayub je immigration boyo jele woyen sute Ker Ayub but all along green dunta jara so marenting start kasila I was so afraid malong kolbe dunna nyoto minton so one boy futata kiri one boy wonene oddly yakele no I was oddly to one magistrate no then sang abe normal duties la so wayente sute wayin sute ayin kumandi konoto ntata konoto diamo je coming alonni ko there is something wrong ni agente be dunna nan Casamance moto kono pour kata Dakar there must be something nko ndiamu to funka jara nka ko hey ite you were an oddly ya lo ne ning system o be nyame aka operate nyame barate fana abe komi alaftan to dia komi magistrate o be escape kan atele ya amuta alafta wole kala no barala colleague do bije waka ko no ni o ke jang ni ñing la time le si amuta jang iba torala yalla di yalla ko bi Gambia no la di amore ki bala ba emphasize kay ko ibe ñin na haju ti ñala ñay bala life destroy la ñamen so we are convinced prime bula ni wo moto ita ni Senegal la moto continue to wala ñama bir ñu cross tan dunda Senegal ko non ko alhamdulillah but nga mi don kay mom that was the end so data Dakar from Dakar del natanagan because na passport nata samanya nang Dakar le instead of kana Senegal instead of Ziguinchor samanya nang Dakar na passport then from there nga flight will from data that was how
that's crazy that's really crazy to be honest with you listening to you I come to ko from mbe fimo le jibega
it was tough
ite ke nyimmen fote ngala ne faranko mo jamal be je men yalon ko they had to go through a similar fate ka bori la wulu bakora
yeah
ko kube kirera bella fa ke murundi ko ma demanding ila bo kabo atolum fang kabo bursubi kata bora Ziguinchor mole drive on fo ile fa drive
mole en drive because judiciary moto le be mbulunu
Ha.
judiciary moto le bembulu
So
biri
yo moto
data.
le use bang for moto do ta.
Man judiciary la moto use ngo to turntable le ngamoto to turntable. Ngana
Hmm.
because you have an official driver. Ikela official
Mhm.
driver sotole. So we cannot kono jama jama akamoto tumbule because they can drive le fana. Akamoto tumbule. So nga driver call pro ayena moto nyin kama brusupi. Nkai ko moto be parking brusupi dameng nga chabo ke driver la capito siran la capito duma. Nkai na moto nyin college aya samba aya akana murundite ade ma fa fan kondika tat lal. Nkai ko just
Mhm.
moto file jang na ye moto pick jang ya sambe ya sama ikana na pick kana na antela soko no kana pick just go direct to Banjul no wale for drive way nkai ko just go to Banjul with the car kana na antela soko no kana pick so ma fa nkata dameng so nga moto to jele then na freno dole drive up to Jiboro. Jiboro komi ngamolo njele na ndoko mala muso la broda be steering Jiboro ntata wole ya straight wo wularo because wularo le
Mhm.
wularo fitil ko lam futata Jiboro so ngalla woto wo fango ay experience ma ko jogo mo jama jartante bulo ko no jam fang ni lafta mo jama ka escape jangi no e kanana na meta kachala wo suto na meta kachala jisa na meta kachala je then bota Jiboro na 4 o'clock suto ay kuni na
Mhm.
tata nyamo kono tamata nyamo kono fo Casamance kono to de then moto tawol to ni taxi tawol to pukata Ziguinchor
Mm.
yeah akira
So
wole
so
bala
so how did you manage to convince the immigration officer in for police officer in Bula? What happened?
ha kuning afanang he's a young man promotion
Mhm.
wala ngala ya promote le de ya sambo would lato de he was an oddly atende sute wa inde mate
Mm.
sute atende sute le wa inde mate sute akonyo ko my lord what he felt magistrate your worship abo wole foga ka ko je ite ba volante ko your worship as your worship san ite your worship from ite bo wala time waste le jang ite le bente mutala jang ya tandila boss nyol la ko ite ente mutala guy
So
why
lafa ke nyinin ka menda. Biring ate ko nsobitele ko probably this is not normal. Did you come clean to him kafai ko I'm running for my life bang or you insisted that it was just it's normal.
guy ko is normal ntara kasama guy ko ntara kasama asle I had an
Mhm.
ojen isun tata kasama sa mbota kasama mbita kan Dakar from Dakar then ngana muru Gambia ninga wo ninte fonga fly plainly kaya long ko I was running away maybe at a sonna kambula
Mhm. Ate
maybe at a sonna because na long ko exactly ninga muta maybe wo matila promotion olati o wo matila to diality in the system atela system
Mhm.
okono yeah maybe mamira bin bulala mamira bin bulala bola kana mo fight kako no I just haven't kako Gambian in Senegal team
Mhm.
Gambian all molla badingol bit lal beto sita dawda yenana you can move freely between Gambia and Senegal ntata Casamance the same bita Dakar nimbota Dakar rek mbe murula but the problem was akonyen na baga solle bago tembo bago fo tembulu alafta wol beke la isu tinka ko wo manke isu fengal min be mbala ni wosita no Dakar le sama ngamuru Gambia because suba motol katale suto motol katale nsi travel akon na bago le ngana bago jindi ka ko no bago tembulu jang ntebe ojen
Wow.
mission le botanan zigen son bita Dakar rek sama be mburu la Gambia le that's it but bagaso tembulu be min jindi la so we be ala suspicion of kafu but in the end diamole ala kafnyol kay ko abulaje
Mm.
nieta nyimbulaje aita ila boss lem nung abulaje aita so it will be alone Gambia be kandiri nu nyame wota mo Gambia was very very hot 2013 2014 abikolari num ba kelen so I left.
So how was it in Senegal and how ila ko nata la banyadile?
Senegal is fine yala nga part of my family mfama e korda to Dakar nti fama la
Mm.
korda ha mfama la korda fango be Dakar picking. So, but in Manta su kono fana ntata hotel I was staying in a hotel. Dakar na 3 days like je then tat. Manta
Inara ta America.
nada ta America what time was 2014.
So how did that come about? Dia mako lolo soto bang for Nyadi la visa ni ko
The
lo
visa,
leer nyadi.
American visa ben bulenu. Yalo nga pe nyame din last week program nga American visa soto. Nkono be ha nkono bina holiday la jare because before me na America jang I had other visas to Europe. Nga holiday ke Germany le once. Ntata Germany nga holiday ke je in 2013. Nga na annual leave nga ke Germany le. Ntata je murtana Germany birimbi je nu ntata na oncle le ya nu fang atele bije. Ako nga stay watu wate because of the political situation Gambia we nga stay Germany kay ko no Germany atola jang fo yalla German karang yes jang ye German karang and a lot of things jan need to assimilate la Germany kay ko is going to take time apparently I don't think I like German system on be murlale so nseta wata atara American visa fanan be mbula ben na passport o bala bari mang na US follow so mba plan kan the following year ngana holiday la maybe ngana holiday la ngamuru kote ke nga continue bencho kan because I was very proud I wanted to continue working as a magistrate you know that for that level like a principal magistrate you know come batu nga continue wodokola I was very happy with the job you know so nata US visa bengule bidin tata Dakar wato US visa so nga wole use continue tan nata jam bidin nata mamuru kote ke fan fo ya jamme tata then Ntata Muru Gambia, I still continue to work. Ntata, I was working at AMRC as director of legal affairs. So,
After the change of government.
after the change of government, Murtala Gambia, I was working in Gambia for 3 years. 3 years, Mije, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021. 2019, 2020, 2021, be Dukwala as with AMRC as Director of Legal Affairs. So nga 3 years doku jele not jani finally in this sale and jam fana because AMRC nga jibe nyame AMRC be nyame yalo ya jamela mansukunda biri nata force ye Gambia la Jawara la former minister so la asset sold everything ya bele sis ya bele ta government ya be busi bulle so what asset sold be under AMRC AMRC lebo asset sold administer kan ke either ke wafi or pour ke manage on behalf of government property sold Seattle fatam beta you know all the ministers of that time so AMRC la duko mu barinte beti AMRC tam menata realize ko nyulu ila mandate from ani be min ke kan iman clear an ka fo managing director almost every day na min tata director la office ka wole an ka ko legally ngol be min na jam fango is wrong yin properties so some of these 90% of the properties were illegally seized by the government you know so some of those ministers will be taken court porque la property sold claim at that time it was very difficult because judiciary no had difficult ya jamela time or any decision okay but after ya jame then decision all not ka finti ka go in property sold from yetan illegally AMRC from labanta last year ye je soron the company the office doesn't exist anymore yeah your office of from soron now it doesn't exist nte be bolaje time then months before me bolaje months before Mbebola Jefang, I was telling the managing director, institutional, it's not, I don't see the viability of this institution. I wrote a paper about the viability of the institutional to continue and all that. Because if it
I'm understanding so. But yeah, I think that's an interesting point. But in the case about Damendo, I know a lot of people are watching. They are also making comments. I see a couple of comments interest from viewers. They want to know how you managed to get your passport from Gambia, Biridara, Senegal.
No,
If
yeah,
you can answer that quickly, then Nimbodo, then I want to
yeah,
take you back a bit.
Yala lafta ye passport sama nyana nung zigen
Chicken
so but
soul.
woman possible no so bring me Dakar nata sama nanjele. Someone
Okay.
brought it, yeah, a family member brought it to me. I na family member le passport or sama nyana Dakar.
Wow.
Because imang tan na suoko lo kaje search because not reta nung kaje search or something is a passport or jeno lo no. But birin tenga information so the call. Part of the team fango mimbe timo fango kono someone part of the team a police officer will ente call akonyo kon kanale we are coming for you we ente call for you what be Bruce be from that call them tenga na moto fango na judiciary moto nga abandon Bruce je nga Bitilo ntata nga jana bayndi jiboro because o kanyo ko ni tari la soko no
Near Terrajiata Benna.
ha
But I want
sometimes
to ask you how difficult was it to come to that decision, Kabori? Because Niaje Ngafo, I think it's
mm,
easy for the general public, yes, idoro yamoy ko kar bortala Gambia bulatara exile. But
yeah
Molma understand ko it comes at a very, very difficult
ha
cost. You know,
because
kukalembala katara laringa kunadula because ni borta yela wulu banko tuje.
mm,
Abela ko ibe kukilin kono tilikilin doron jeni jela dunia be falling.
a big
You know,
fun
how difficult was that for you? Because niaje minim fokam nganyim follow nung in one of my interviews also, and I want to repeat it again. Ndefamo personally,
mm,
this was what I'm in radio to nung, and in Bekugata nung Gambia. There was a point that ndefalo data nung from Borta already.
mm,
Bari man na finti because nata menje moinu wala muko it was a false alarm. But I
oh,
remember vividly that mol be ko leba fole ko say arrest no at any point. That is a very,
mhm.
very scary thought, especially jamela time.
Yeah,
Ndeta
exactly.
tala fonga ferio tay. Ndara meng
Mm,
fonga adna fonga ndema mbori fonga was because ndenga ferio tay wato menna
mm,
janimbe cross la Banjul bara iko nyako frontiero soronda. So
mm,
mfanandara dulala nyini ngalla wala taftena rafenye ko sila memenkele titele jam follow. We observed the situation nga jibe after Natamweko, it was a false alarm. But
mm,
what was going through your mind? How difficult was it for you to decide that you want to leave your country, a country
mm,
where you've built a future, a dimba everything? You have so much going for
mm.
yourself.
I
How
was very
difficult was
scared.
that?
Tonya, I was very scared. Sila to nung back elefang. Because until I reaction or like man try pulka mo jama call. I knew my telephone ya po niya me ko even na telephone fango hakan nung at that time. Na telephone ninga mo call is likely because officer me en call wole obe fanyo. Ako
Hmm.
you go be careful with your phone. Ni mo kumasi ka more call all over the place. They might create problem for other people. Me and call exactly. So until a reaction of from Bruce Vidron was to go direct outside the Gambia. When you go Niman Finti, Ibe Mutalale. Niman Finti because he track and Niman Finti Ibe Mutalale. From Bruce B, Ntenga na moto to J, then nga taxi ta ndata na friend ya na friend wale ala moto ta because mo be alone the Gambia at that time ni muta drong ike be toralo min lale kang mo be yolone.
Mm-hmm.
So the only thing is near mutarek atrai ibe fintila nyame. But also for Nania Jive na security ima was strong back purka border soul muta wala purka track 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Because ngaje even kudeta lal Jamal ika escape bo jiboro bodal reta wala eta katong mafon la mulka escape purka escape Gambia it's not difficult. Because ila
Mm-hmm.
yeah imo capacity suto ka make so ni sulate tela ye muta ite fintino la boda sol muta wala no ani boda muta ndul man dunni boda ran dunda nyamole kono but it's not the silata so much that not only survival instinct wolem pour ka finti Gambia kono that was my only survival instinct at that time pour ka finti Gambia kono bari comme
Mm-hmm.
nga fa nyame mfindi sa den nte malon ko Gambia ni be bola Casamance fo ye dum Gambia kono kote wala mun na biggest mistake tin ko nte ma wo fa comme nimmo ma kacha mo ma fa nyi malon na da fa
Yeah.
ngaje soma boda Gambia ni Senegal la boda
Senegal
do
la border.
everything
Mm-hmm.
comme fa oh my god comme fa laji la masibo kita de kote bari soma je
Wow.
manke problem oti until be finti kan damen kata Senegal kote
Mm-hmm.
jele nata ke problem mun domandi ngoti fana diamo diamo kono to because nin diamo sport mun na finti taban malla fi diamo e finti banta no ni wo official li mo fula mo sabayla office o kono nin diamo finti tabanta abe commotion le create la te wo bati na la fango nyul be insist la le ko ngaste
Kemuda, yeah.
ah kam muta so mampare diamo e finti je I was begging them ko konko batu ngata rek because ale alo ni system o be nyaming is not safe. Then it will immigration director from wala judgment o court yele ko ko buba sanyang la judgment o kunum fo kunum ko ali amoyle ngala judgment o ke nga free ndile amanke ko mal laftan yo to randila te fana eta prison yo be kala mutale because it was
Mm-hmm.
publicized
Yeah.
a publicized tele ya ko alla director kunun ne ngala judgment o ke ngabla so nte bina jang nyaadi ite pare kantila time o waste jang can defana yemuru system o kono kote. So in the end, fingata boyo nying sontanga ay mbulam findita ndinta moto kono. It will be findita le loti la bundata fon yaji fo moto ying cross the Senegal.
Oh, listen.
Because
Eh,
jibe ko malange it will be ke no jibe la fo cross the Senegal. Ngo alhamdulillah. Bilai.
that's crazy.
It was very scary. It was scary. It was scary. Kijo faro nyong kijo e fara fo nenen kijo man fara wo nyama kasila.
Allah Akbar.
Silatale for my own safety because yalla ne comme ni mile to aning NIA e kamin keje mo ma do bije ke tocho jele yalla mile to be no jebe saltere nyamen mile to la pool be ya moy ko just from magistrate yes sama mile to so e ka mol min bali prieta mile ite fo na sama mile
Ye
to
kafu
is
maud
so
laro, yeah.
mam
Yeah.
pare o kay mo ma jarta ñe fo be la bar mbe fintilal mbe fintilal.
So in terms of love case demanding, we go back to look at cases so many along kule futade ma believe on the bench. Love case in kamena ninkumu kitiol ben be futade ma yemi kitiol men be tay. Fembe je ba fala men ko nyimu kiti kolem balesi. Ubekela jumalesi ani munat na bekela what like the most difficult decision you've ever made during that period and why?
Decision. Sometimes Alan, the law is very funny. Evidence gather la nyaming in court. Nulla case was very tough for me. Ablai Tambedu and Haligay. There was evidence, but the problem with a criminal prosecution is you have to prove beyond reasonable doubt. Beyond all reasonable doubt. Among any doubt the case you cannot convict. Wo is a major legal principle in a criminal case. So it was case Benjamin, there was some evidence they did wrong in law. But when you look at the entirety of the case, it's not proving beyond reasonable doubt. Although there is some doubt. I have to make that decision because no case submission. Puri la defense for dundi. But the decision of Puri no case submission okay, what is going to be very, very controversial. At that time, so what case new what tough before arrive for that decision. It was very, very tough for me. Even though there is some evidence that they did wrong under the law, but near case Ningla entirety BGB is not beyond reasonable doubt. There is still some doubt. So I have to, no case submission. Well, no case submission after Najibe from in hindsight, I shouldn't have manyana no case submission. At least in until defense entalale. If I defense at the end of that defense, gonna decide whether Yeminke is wrong or right, whether they're guilty or not guilty. So what that case mean was very, very tough for me. Walatina, being our decision, okay, I have to leave. Yeah, being our decision, okay, I have to leave. Because I want to also make sure you imanta prison, me send prison. It's likely ninte come inte borita nyameng, mimbina inte noma. Wobe silala so much that with ntela boro, wobe silala puka anything ke mi alonko at a new convict la. It is a prison because near to someone in prison. No, after the time they do coming signing, he's still managing director social security, managing director GPPA. Ala record bele betinyala. Conviction of ala record betinyala at a new position also to know la koteke because after a criminal conviction. So yeah, jele wo sifa wo decision sifa how you can destroy someone's life. Movie along, but to me, he was very intelligent person. He's very smart. Ala school days from ala school record follow how smart he was, and ala achievement soul min beke. So prunga jeko attending Harley what time or director of finance. Porque samba prison, I'm going to destroy their career. will it be always at the back of my mind, even the court time moment and be jibe can always, because you told they are just like me block it from se moma magistrate or se moma court man wara. So nka jibe wole nyama with that eye lungo nana to court case ni metal, you know, that pour que ñil convict pour que la hajotinya for, you know, this kind of problem manta wakela mampare pour ko mampare pour ko decision si fata,
Yeah.
you know,
Pour la may lalo men yalang ko
because
be la
it
may
was
ka radio to album mo kam Vibes FM le 106.1 FM alal bari malum falli federa ning senior counsel former principal magistrate Lamin Bayle jang keta modi malum ka terbe marali num banju magistrate kiti bumbala termo kiti telati nun je nabe men kacha kan wala mo kolti men sorta ala maralo koro ala nyatun kaya koto wo banju magistrate court kiti balu men futatama anin fadang anin jammela ko la nyame la lafta silang damen du jibe wala mo nga feleke ko mala nga jibe loke Gambia la judiciary la on the jame bari namano ke fonse nyininka personally did you receive any call from Jame directly, you know, trying to interfere in any case? Did that ever happen in any other
no
case, or
no no
did
no no no
through the Chief Justice and more cutting all?
akake through the chief justice like ke command ala office kono ati fango jame fango directly no wala call from state house no. It is called sort of a man called sort of from state house just through the judiciary rek wole ka fo ko ibin ke kanteng. But coming up on yami mo jamal biji la kisi sol akate fongo male directly kodola karola rek ye bay then ye arrest wo nyama ye samanang
But
ko
is there a reason to believe that Jamme found in Chief Justice ka diamole, or
ako
it a sense mumendi anaka diamole bang for more fanambata in Chief Justice system?
anaka diamle chief justice can go to the office of the president anytime asa dungala moto kono aita state house without appointment. He goes to the office of the president. What time? Chief Justice Nigeria no maybe je again. Wakata state house anytime the akata state house akata kana. Imagine bring ya jami from Ubota government in 2017 bira aburta wanyama to ikete region before abita. Yalong a trial purka court use purka
Yes,
election ni ka
ka
election ni
overtone, yeah.
invalid ka overturn. So alafta agimie na alafta agimie nana pour agimie na sit as chief justice ay ala decision okay on that case. But agim manano because
Yes.
Gambia Bar Association for a man song agimie na pour any Georgia bonang from a foreign country.
Nigeria to come on, yeah.
Nigeria pour kanana
Absolutely.
kana what is but agim paretele kanade. Agim paretele kanana nung kana ka sit ka yajemela election tribe case ni ka tribe. But
Ajimle
woman
munu wo Nigerian Chief Justice Marni,
Nigerian chief
Emmanuel
justice
Ajim, yeah.
agim. Yeah, wolem agim.
So, Senior Counsel, I wanted to also ask, ni atara because you know, Gambia la lua bunda emeta jela ko ya fanyamen ye karango ke woleto ye magistrate yake je for so many years ning atara fembe je Gambia no lu mammen suute wara mammel no banko la tilingo bunda ro jamela time ning atara wo fembe je itala miro do mummuneti.
What more in terms of interference, strong interference from interference bugake like ikamin read newspapers wol bala wala ikamin je television or kono because intimidation or Seattle intimidation is different forms sort of amanke directly fango ibete mamandi la puke intimidate but ikamin je and ikamin je news kono ikamin read newspaper bala abemu intimidation or minka ke modol la so minka ke modol la wose keno ite fanana so we always akatara at the back of your mind one form of intimidation like is psychological because you all the member ke kan modol la every day a new thing is happening if it all fala modol bi je ka fala because na jele TRRC kono moli diamol minke moli evidence min fo ko ye munike wota mo ya jamela wato ye minke so jongula sol ngalon ni jongula sol ye mol min fa asiara so iko o news nyol disappearance ol moyle ko kari disappearata wala e kari fale minister fale at that time koro si senyol ye will be fale wonyama so incident si fal will be at katara at the back of your mind wosilo kama amanjari ye call telephone to ite fon ya lon ike fan sensole
Yeah.
ite fon le ke fan senso ko senso in the sense that ninga nyinke ibe react la tenne ninga nyinke maybe nyine bina fintilani but nte dum diam mesengo siatale ntela time wala diam mesengo siatale ko ibe nyin decision o yin decision o minke it might cause you into this as in problem sifa dila as in problem wo problem sifa diam mesengo siata up to the last day nte pota Gambia mol ben won la rek be careful not fellow magistrates all can call on the telephone. Be careful. You got decision or decision okay. Like camera will look for maybe even arrest la maybe mutala. But I kept on going. I kept on going until that day. Not that our police for mante call. Our police is still there now. It's high profile. Sign from a plus kuto diala is so big. You know.
So saying you mentioned that some of your colleagues here call, Preso Kabokaro Belela, Foye. Do you think the judiciary as a whole, Ninko judiciary Bankola Tilimobunda, Kiti Telalu, magistratal high court judges, do you think they could have been more resistant? Foye se balamo itandi noranu rather than kasong lala ke famtu jamme bulu anara masakunda ke nyama.
Pour Gambianol will back will back try can at that time.
Niko Gambian kiti tela ibo wala.
Gambian kiti tela will dole back try can at that time, but Nigerian only siata. High court what time on Nigerian old Malabiji. Nigerian old Damabiji in the criminal division. Yalo high court division Jamasura, civil division sort of like criminal division sort of. Yeah. So Gambian old BJ, but Gambian old Musol living in Jenu at that time. Gambian Musol about 3 or 4. Mama singati yo lebin nje ani sujumalu nyina ta dol to la le bar nga mama will remember it because I work on the half na do ko kele directly then musol le bije musol dum baby civil division musu joji sol mil be high court will be civil division so civil matters sol jama will buka complicate back civil matters sol jama government da buka tara woto in a civil case wakatara between mall ni mall letema civil case mall ni mall letema wala company organizational jama so musol la ila impact man wara baake government la karola so they don't have anything to fear man sila fenna no wotaymo criminal cases all Nigerian all abebe Nigerian all level so baje la Nigerian all mo sika soto ko mantañi sen la prison ngalonne wala ngala family lonne wol man ke awo sifal wol ni mo nata drunk direct you are going to prison Nigeria no do wol no wala nyama so Gambia no la impact be dama wol entol Gambia no le entol min samana wo nyama ke magistrate court level at that time nga magistrate court so be finger even though there is ilani slow bijele ko anything can happen to you you still have to do your job for your model life not that for the whole life is at risk maybe you can thinking also but apart from because birintenata jam fanan magistrate dol bi jele milinata America jam birintenata but they end up in Mauritania science principal magistrate nimbe Banjul Kurubali afana nata nun jan anata nun jan ngamira asylum try jam bara manna succeed ala Mauritania then you have another magistrate ngamira jabang fana ye jankele anata America janne ay jankele ngamira asalamul dundile fo maram faman soksil le bang fo because biri tol bi janni tol be kadi amule non biri jang biri entara jang you can call le ka fonye maybe na settle ta nya dile stuff like that magistrate dol nata janne miliale be benchota e murta back itata muru e continuate la do kola in the bench but they came here and they tried they tried to file for asylum here, then in Atamuru Kote. Until stated because I don't think there was any way in Amuru. So stated. But
So ning bi ye koma feleke jibe ko kitol men bela men futa dema. Kiti be je yemente ifon sa fono men nako this is indeed my proudest moment. Iba coming it's a titar no kiti o men na yalon ko de men nyanda ngawaleke. And then I could allow myself to do I know you mentioned a whole lot of examples
but near jibe ikamol abe would sifa be difficult at the time because like modern ke arrest is ke arrest min la abuka ke genuine legal problem what mi alonko is as a complicated aka complicate le no jama buka ke wo nyama be ka ke politically motivated
cases already.
arrest ha ni aje high profile ñin lower cases so like suñarol ni assault ani ñing kudol wol katara jele maybe wol is a legal brain use no or stuff but ñin dol because data fo jana brikama ba there was a very big election on tende APRC grupo ning UDP grupo because Dabole kana will represent Dabo fongo personally atele kanana atel kana ke wala lawyer ti abukay bula lawyer do nana wala e bula case not at any time Dabo fongo le ka drive nam from Banjul nala moli nana I now will represent do bije I sent somebody to Janjambure prison nga remand Janjambure prison for political problems rek he's a politician atata TRRC le he was mentioning my name at the TRRC as a magistrate me at a send my Janjambure prison because I can't jata no ngala he was a big problem for the governor. He was a big problem for the governor of Janjam Bakati at that time. So most of the cases will not be handled. They are politically motivated. So politically motivated cases, you have to be very careful. You have to balance. You have to balance for yening sorong yala hajo tinya, ya tokuya yala hajo tinya. Moli afo tending water atara amam fenke fan, being important. So most of the cases will be kake wallet. But most people ibuke soron no for ila consigns from ila consigns ila hakilote tenkuna. You most soron because because of political reasons. President Omar Lafala, what is not right. I'm not gonna do that because I'm more okay.
Abaraka Senior Counsel by former Principal Magistrate Banjul Magistrate Court kontan tangi se wota ngi soto jang lamela nin jibe lalu albedada dunya kono ngal je ngal tentu al kaftam majam menke sambi mbe kata kumpala dro atul membe jibe kan ngaji la jamal be safiro ke kan nale nyinin kar soto dro al sa nyinin karolu kino nanne janimba kumfala mba katalale nga nyinin karol futandi Senior Counsel ma Lamin Bay lafake ñininka menna nga ñininkaro sifa do fana jebdo bulu janne mari ko munabe kela ila yamar doti pour magistrate le men yalon ko wolel be système o kono bitilo la anim fana ila jiko mum muneti ila miro mum muneti bitilo tilingo bunda gambia banko kan fenne me yalon ka nyanta falina la bang kule be je men nyanta ka sembentondi bang ila yamar do be kela muneti anila crossro fana mum muneti banko la tilingo bundaro e be mi yamaro kela muneti fannik e magistrate ndingole men be magistrate men be siran kan nyinta benna anim fanan nin kube je men nyanta falina banko la tilingo bundaro mum muneti bitilo la
cool bijele kay mi yalon ko inyanda improve la inyanda falena like reporting because records is very important. Gambia cases all min katara Gambia in the court system asia telefatan beta bari buka record ne
ni ko buka record what does that mean
imang judicial precedents like bukol safe on the cases all milika tara court ning jojo yala judgment of ke fa parete nyanti record la le yera tara record tara bukol kono bukol mi yalon ko for other generations or for other people, other magistrates or other judges or say it can only use as precedent. Cases all milk it evaporate ka record. But in case of it evaporate file la ball ki file se wara nya ata ke cell phone kan wol bukana nafa soto koteke because it is a case killing ka nyini. Aketa Gambia law report. Totally no law report totally up to 2003. During 2003 inside more than 20 years Gambia law report mang update. Gambia law report mang update in the sense that imam book kutamal imam office from also specifically office me along the responsible la pulka woleke. Thanks saying near judicial interference and among wara mamera warata wala even abiji at all. because previous government, Yahya Jammeh government, wale hanyita pulko wosifalke, they don't care. Wale ko sifalke no be interfere in judgment or learning cases all, but sign okay, judiciary be nyamen sign thing, judicial they are fine. Judicial they are doing very well without interference. But the only thing I mean for thing, even BJ time, I mean we keep saying the same thing. But woman can no any sign. Judiciary pre resources provide through either government ye makoi, ye law reports all update. Cases all military can ye record, ye law reports all update. Well, it's very easy. Pre cases all access, you have access to cases. Then ni sulata case later be la own imagination only use la neo Sifake is not a la disadvantage bijele because it's likely it will be a case only forward decide can work a similar case like that was already decided on case law, what case decide, but a file is somewhere near later you are not aware of that. But not the cases all they are all reported. You just go into the books, you open page ning yeah case even be kototen. A similar one also.
Ani nyin case Carla Mulunda ha ye kitio
No,
te
I mean,
nyadi.
I take case ni keta nya kuntuta nya dile yo president you follow, yo rule you follow, yela case kuntu. It becomes very very easy for everybody. But
Thank you.
woman trake kan is a big problem for the judiciary.
Abaraka bake senior counsel Lamin Bay mbadingolu nga jayi nga tentu alal jibero ning alal lamoy ko nyima kang alal bari malum falli fadera ko nga fa nyameng soma mbe documentary kuto fintindila about president koto Jammeh sabati nyato equatorial gina banko kang abe tundo mento je abe sabatirin bulal mento aning alhalo men nyama je fanala dimbabe mol bre nyoka ne fomantara nyoka mol be kude me alon ko mbabe bola le nyoto na bitilo in-depth documentary follow me alon ko mba afindin la soma na diata alay but hani bi dorong senior counsel la fa ke nyininka la ba menna janimbe one or two questions tala nga kaja kumfa biri isa wonte nata America. How was the transition for you? Was it easy in ila dimba mula la ko la ta nyoy nyaadile anin ku ko tangal men yalon ko ka yela makam be class
Among
o kere nya
America mom ni nata jang you start fresh. Ntila transition o kita wole nyama you have to start fresh. Ibe sila lefo you apply for asylum. The asylum apply because ntila asylum wa atariata de demanding ni ajibire because nga de model katarno nga mejan demanding but nata pirin nata nga asylum apply immediately because I came with some money nga kodo nga apply nga lawyer jo asylum apply within 1 year na reply nata ye green card dina. So bri green card dina wonyama 2014 2015 2016 nana muso aning dingol be nge finkanang botanang Gambia ibe nata I join to jang I join tang kanjang bari among in the beginning wole koleata rek but biri tata for green card so rek all physiatale all physiatale alhamdulillah for something jang wole nyama bari sa wo sang kata ngana kata kana sang
thank you
so all wole nyama
baraka bake senior counsel ngeje tentu yiwato menta ndino nin sawo momenti molbe karana ila nyin simfalto le yalan ko lelta ko le almen yalan ko lelta ki anim fanan be hamo fanan menti nyin fanan seke huwati molu se Gambia la judiciary jeno no nyamenda sako fonga be ba Banjul Magistrate was the center of everything membe be kekanu because this was also at the time me alon ko defana men kibaro don Taraka FM kedi kunta kibari malu nka wollel karannu and a whole host of issues so si lambe laf la doron nin kuma la bambe buli safo wo kola ansina ke kibaro
okay near Jibe what magistrate court was the center of everything because police will jama ni arrest imam parela investigation ola just allegation ola rek ya jame man kontan ay bay so it will fanang for yela investigation okay yela evidence be collect but jani bo kala the only thing they can do police bail is only 72 hours 3 days police will nyande bulala le ni man pare pour que la case samba court ne la file man pare so the only way is a minke no rek pour que sama na magistrate court so ni minister arrest rek ike sama na magistrate court pour court ye bail grant so police was like ika la responsibility ika fenka wolta. So ise by do ko la bi sama ye muta bo samo fango bi ye muta somanda before wularo ye sama na magistrate court. So itu kala fi magistrate o wole be grand bail delay la. Magistrate o bail deal janning police will be la investigation o kela wala janning NIA be la investigation o kela wala kana nga commencer ni wala ko the moment Yahya Jammeh by it will put it all either you are already guilty you did something wrong yefen te woman luwa man son wala fang luwa man son wala somebody is innocent until proven guilty by a court of law but it will be okay it will the moment ila dismissal later nata that day ibe mutala ni mutadro ye samana magistrate court so pressure min be magistrate court nung is too much pressure waratale wala tina at that time Yahya Jammeh be kandiring nung baba kele wato but sign was sifa mantaraji sign sita magistrate court was sifa bukataraji Banjul magistrate court ma wo finka bake for nanying sometimes high profile Christian anang also bari namanke wote amo pressure sifa soto nun that time the pressure was too much.
Baraka bake senior counsel Lamin Bay nge tentu yewato mentaka kafumba jang mo jamal sudo mene alon ko ben jibe ka YouTube ni Facebook kontantan se wota ke sudo jang baraka bake almatilo to diala alama be tankala katani karatula wassalam ala baraka thank you